here's the best 2 ETF portfolio to make you very rich. In my previous 2 ETF portfolio series, I went through some great 2 ETF portfolios, so go ahead and check that out if those type of portfolios interest you. But in this video, I'm going to go through a 2 ETF portfolio that will get you rich the fastest through high capital appreciation while receiving a steady stream of passive income along the way through dividends, so you're constantly making money and you don't have to wait until you're old or retired to reap some of the benefits. The 2 ETF portfolio is combining a growth ETF with a dividend ETF. Now, with a growth ETF, you can take advantage of the highest possible returns in the stock market without being as risky as something like picking individual stocks. Because with a growth ETF, you do have hundreds of stocks to keep you more diversified than being a glorified stock picker that takes a ton of time and research, and nobody has time for that. A dividend ETF is less risky than a growth ETF because take VYM, Vanguard's high dividend yield ETF for example, it has a beta of 0.83 compared to something like VGT, Vanguard's information technology ETF, which has a beta of 1.16. According to Investopedia, if we're determining which one is better, either a high or a low beta, high beta stocks are supposed to be riskier but provide higher return potential, like growth ETFs, which usually have a beta of over 1 usually. Conversely, low beta stocks pose less risk but also offer lower return potentials since their betas are usually under 1. Low returns for a dividend fund is quite deceiving because dividend ETFs do pay out a dividend either monthly or quarterly, which can be a lucrative way if you want to receive an extra stream of passive income. There are some great dividend ETFs out there that offer as good as returns or even keep up with the S&P 500, so low is the wrong word. I would rather say average returns because low for returns is going to be something like bonds or a high yield savings account, for example. The most important reason why anybody would combine a dividend ETF with a growth ETF is because a dividend-focused ETF will keep your portfolio at least in shallow waters if a recession were to occur, because they usually perform the best out of stocks in these volatile environments, and so you are way more protected. Basically, this 2 ETF portfolio is the best of both worlds of combining high returns and combining it with a steady stream of passive income, so you see an automatic ROI from the short term but also in the long term as well. For these 2 categories, you can go ahead and choose whichever ETF your heart desires and then allocate your percentages to your portfolio based on your risk tolerance, time horizon, and also your goals. For some quick background information, dividend ETFs invest in dividend-paying stocks. Lucky guess right. They're more of a stabilizer in your portfolio and they're not expected to go straight up and shoot to the moon, but they're also not expected to go to absolutely zero like some speculative meme stocks. Some of the best dividend ETFs that I like are SCHD, VYM, VIG, DGRO, DIVB, and so many more on this list. If you want dividend payments every single month, then the funds I like are JEPB, JEPQ, SPYI, DIVO, DGRW, and so many more on this list that pay a consistent dividend payment every single month. Over the last 10 years, DGRW has beaten the S&P 500, VU, while other ETFs like DGRO, SCHD, and VIG have come very close as runner-ups. Over the last 5 years, the returns of VU is the king over the dividend ETFs, with some of the same names coming very close to VU, and over the last 3 years, dividend funds have performed very well, some even beating the S&P 500, like DGRW and VYM, as VIG and DGRO are very close runner-ups. As you can see, dividend funds aren't going to blow the socks out of the S&P 500 and beat it over a consistent period of time because the S&P 500 is one of the hardest indexes to beat, because the real reason why anybody would want to invest in these funds is because they have strong financials and very strong balance sheets and business models. Since Coca-Cola, Home Depot, McDonald's, Procter & Gamble, and many more are dividend stocks that are in most of these dividend funds, aren't going anywhere anytime soon and will continue to make a profit and generate a ton of cash flow, which is going to be great for you as an investor because these stocks will continue to make money no matter what the world looks like. And most dividend ETFs actually grow their annual dividend payments and outpace the rising cost of inflation. Now, one of the best and easiest ways to start investing in stocks and ETFs is on Moomoo. Moomoo is a free investing app where you can trade stocks, ETFs, and options. There are $0 commissions and $0 contract fees for stock and ETF options, plus access to data and news to help you become a better investor. For example, if I go ahead and type in an ETF that tracks the performance of the S&P 500 index on Moomoo, it shows key information like the returns indicator analysis, which can be used to compare performance of top ETFs. Also, Moomoo will show you an ETF's top holdings and complete breakdowns of the sectors, the actual style of the ETF, in this case it's a large cap growth fund, and even the year-over-year dividends of the ETF, all completely free. How you can receive all this value is by clicking the link in the description of this video or in the pinned comment to jumpstart your investing journey with up to 15 free stocks when making a qualified deposit. Yes, it's a great deal of up to 15 free stocks that Moomoo is just giving away. Moomoo is also giving new users 8.1% APY on your uninvested cash for a limited time. So go ahead and click the link in the description of this video or in the pinned comment to take advantage of these awesome promotions and experience the power of Moomoo. The other ETF category to complete our 2 ETF portfolio is a growth ETF category. The growth ETFs that I like are QQQM, SCHG, VUG, VGT, SPMO, XLK, SMH, and the many other fun ones on this list. Over the last decade, all of the growth ETFs have absolutely destroyed the S&P 500, with the semiconductors, VGT, and XLK being some of the highest gainers, and even over the last 5 years, the same is true for all the growth ETFs absolutely destroying the overall market. Now, while growth ETFs can have some of the best returns compared to the overall market, they can definitely go down a ton. For example, the Nasdaq 100 or QQQ at one point suffered a negative 81% drawdown that required 175 months to be fully recovered. Now that really hurt, but this could have been easily prevented if we combined a dividend ETF with our growth ETF, like combining SCHD with SCHG, a popular Charles Schwab combo. The fund overlap is just a beautiful 1% for that extra diversification to lower your risk and to hopefully make you sleep way better at night. Moving to portfoliovisualizer.com, I'm going to backtest a sample of 3 different popular 2 ETF portfolios that are going to be at 50% allocations to each ETF against the famous VU ETF by Vanguard using a timeline of nearly 10 years. We see that the Schwab combo provides an average portfolio return of 14.3% per year, which is 1.3% more compared to only buying the S&P 500. The Vanguard combo achieves an average portfolio return of 15.8%, which is 2.8% more than only buying the S&P 500 VU, and QQQ plus DGRO achieves an average portfolio return of 15.4% per year, but it does have the highest drawdown of 25.6%, which is pretty volatile if you ask me. If we invested $100,000 in these 2 ETF portfolios back in 2015, we would have made substantially more money than only buying the S&P 500, regardless of the 2 ETF portfolio we chose. With the SCHD plus SCHG combo and that 1% fund overlap, you have 76.3% allocation to large cap stocks, 20.1% to mid cap stocks, and then just 3.64% allocation to small caps. Nearly 100% of the stocks in this combo is mostly invested in the USA, so a big downside is a lack of diversification to other great stocks in other countries, so you don't have international exposure, nor do you have emerging markets. On the other hand, you do have a broad amount of sectors for diversification, like technology, healthcare, financial services, consumer discretionary and staples, and industrials. If we combine the dividends of SCHD plus SCHG For example, it shows that we have a combined dividend yield of around 1.93%, which is going to be way more than only buying the S&P 500, which has a current dividend yield of around 1.3%. So if we have $1 million, then our annual dividends with this 2 ETF portfolio is $19,300 compared to just $13,000 with only VOO. If we invested just $500 per month for the next 25 years at the S&P 500's average rate of return of just 10% per year, we would end up with over $622,000. But with a 2 ETF portfolio of growth and dividends at an average rate of return of over the last decade of around 14%, it easily gets you there faster to over $1 million in that same time frame. So you can make more money with this portfolio, have more dividends in the long run, and also get to that millionaire status way faster, which is a win-win-win. As always, here are some amazing 2 ETF portfolio combinations of a growth and dividend focused ETF to get you rich way faster in the long run, as safe and reliably as possible. If you guys liked this video, please give it a like because this cute puppy did. Be sure to check out my last video on the best 2 ETF portfolios for long-term investing in my ultimate guide. Continue to crush in the stock market and take it easy. Peace.